Hello and welcome to this first lecture on API development in this course, Master in Generative AI. In this new section, we will take a in-depth look at API development, and we will start talking about in this lecture at an overall level how to build APIs to allow other systems and applications to interact with the generative models. So how do you think you can build APIs to allow other systems and appliance applications to interact with generative models? Any thoughts? See, one thing is for sure is that creating APIs for generative model allows other systems and applications to leverage the capabilities of these models. Now, what are the various steps that you need to take? You need to start by choosing a framework for building APIs, a framework. And we will talk about such frameworks in the rest of this lecture. Then you set up the environment where you want to use this such frameworks, and then you load your generative model. Then you refine the APIs, define the API using the fast API model, and then run the API server, test the API, deploy the API, and then do security and authentication. So these are the various steps that you need to do to build APIs to allow other systems and applications to interact with the generative models. Let's take a look at how to choose the framework for building APIs. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? What are the frameworks and how can you use them? How can you choose them? Which is the right framework for you to build API? Any thoughts on that? So there are several frameworks that can be used for creating APIs such as Flask, Fast API, and Django in Python. Fast API is particularly popular for its performance and ease of use. Now, when it comes to creating APIs in Python, several frameworks are available, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. And as we are seeing here, Flask, Fast API, and Django. The most commonly used ones are these that we see here. And how can you choose? Let's take a look at how can you go about choosing the right framework based on your requirements. So the Flask, we will look at the pros and cons of using Flask. Now, Flask is a micro framework, right? That's easy to set up and use, making it ideal for small to medium size applications. It's lightweight and simple. Then it provides freedom to structure your application as you like without much overhead. So it's a very flexible model framework. Then it has large community and extension as available for various functionality. So these are the things in favor of using Flask. So wherever you need these things or wherever they fit in with these things, you can think of using Flask. What are the cons? What are the challenges in using Flask? You may need to do more manual work for things like input validation, serialization, and authentication compared to more feature-rich frameworks. So it's simple, but it requires more manual work. Flask is not designed for asynchronous programming, which can be a limitation for high-performance applications. Now, when to use Flask? When you need a simple, lightweight framework for small and medium-sized applications, and when you prefer flexibility and control over built-in features. And that's the time and place you should consider using Flask as a library for API development. The second one to look at is the Fast API. Now, what is in favor of Fast API? Fast API is designed for asynchronous programming, making it ideal for high-performance applications. It automatically generates interactive API documentation using Swagger UI and Redot. And Fast API uses Python type hints to validate request data, ensuring better type checking and error handling. And it is one of the fastest Python web frameworks thanks to its asynchronous capabilities. So these are the things in favor of Fast API. What are the negative or cons? Fast API is a relatively new network, new framework. So it might have smaller community and fewer extensions compared to Flask or Django. The use of type limit and asynchronous programming can introduce a learning curve for developers not familiar with these concepts. Now, when to use Fast API? You can use Fast API when you need high performance and asynchronous capabilities for application where automatic documentation and type checking are beneficial, and for modern API development with a focus on speed and efficiency. So these are the times and places where you can use Fast API. Let's look at Django now. What are the pros and cons and when to use that? It's a full-featured framework uh, that comes with the many built-in features like ORM, authentication, and admin panel. It's designed for larger applications and can scale well. Django provides many security features out of the box to help protect against common web vulnerabilities, right? And what are the things which are not in favor of Django? It's a heavyweight, can be overkill for small projects due to its monolithic nature, and its built-in features and convention can sometimes limit flexibility compared to Flask. It's less flexible, more like a big giant ship that keeps running. When to use it? You can use Django for large complex applications that require full-featured framework, and when you need built-in features like ORM, authentication, and admin panel, and for projects where security and scalability are critical. So that those are times and places where you can use Django. So let's summarize when to choose Flask API in Django. Choose Flask for simple lightweight projects where you need flexibility and control, as we saw. Use Fast API for when you need high performance, asynchronous capabilities and automatic documentation. And go for Django when large complex applications that benefit from built-in features and scalability are needed. So let's check out what you think are the right frameworks to use in some use cases that we are going to now, three use cases that I'm going to talk to you now. So if you were to build a simple REST case, what framework would you use? In our view, it should be a Flask framework, and the reason it's lightweight and easy to set up for small projects. For high performance data processing API, what would you use? The right framework is Fast API, and the reason is asynchronous support and high performance. And for e-commerce website, what do you think would be the right framework to use? It would be the last one, the Django, and for its full featured built-in ORM, authentication, and admin panel. So by evaluating your project requirements and the pros and cons of each framework, you can make an informed decision on the best framework for creating your APIs. So what do we do next? So in the next lecture, we will talk about how to set up the environment that can help you build APIs to allow for other systems and applications to interact with generative models. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on API development. I hope you continue to learn new things, continue to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer a question, and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that is of specific interest to you.